Right, in this video I'm just going to show you the basic debugging tools with Visual Studio and Unity. By default, the only real debug tool you've got in Unity is to output to the console window using debug.log. But what I'm going to show you is how to get Visual Studio to control Unity so that we can use breakpoints and all the powerful stuff in Visual Studio. But I'm only going to show you the basic stuff. Right, so the first thing to do is to get Visual Studio loaded up for your project. And if you look at the top, it'll have this little play button. And the play button, oh, don't click the play button. Right, the play button can be changed to attach to Unity and play. Why it's got 4 things up there now, I do not know. Right, so what this allows us to do is to run the code from here and launch Unity, hopefully. Okay, now the reason we want to do that is because in Visual Studio we can stop on a line. So I'm going to put a breakpoint just in this code so we can see something. We can stop on a line and then examine things, watch variables, follow code through, especially when we got decision blocks. We can see what route gets taken through the decisions, and that's quite useful if things aren't working as we expect. Okay, so I'm going to start off just going to put a breakpoint on this line. So when we get to this line, if I just scroll that up a little bit, I'll put a breakpoint on. This is a routine that generates columns for floppy block. Okay, so it creates a new column. It's run every so many seconds. So I'm going to put a breakpoint on this line. So I want to stop. So to put a breakpoint, if I just click in this left-hand column, I'll get a red dot appear. So that's instructing Visual Studio to say, right, before that line executes, stop. And then we can control the execution of the code. Okay, so as long as we've got this set up here, attached to Unity and play. So I don't play from Unity, I play from here now. So I'm going to click that. So attach Unity and play, and hopefully this will chug and it should start Unity running. So you can see the play button's activated. I didn't click that, Visual Studio's done that for me. So obviously I've got that breakpoint in that code. It's not executing yet because we haven't got to that code. So if I click the start game button, it should get round to that bit of code and stop. Okay, so it looks like it's locked up, but if you look down at the taskbar, Visual Studio is flashing. Sometimes it'll flick to it, sometimes it doesn't. So we just need to go back to Visual Studio. Right, and this shows that the breakpoint is now active. And I've got another breakpoint that I set previously. So that's highlighting that line. It hasn't executed that line yet. Now what this enables me to do is I can move my mouse over variables and see what their values are. I can step one line at a time. So if I press F10 on the keyboard, which is the same as the little controls up here, which is called step over, it just executes a line of code. So I do F10 and it executes one line and it moves to the next. So I've got control. If I just wanted to put a breakpoint in to make sure a bit of code was running, that would be enough. Okay, to remove the breakpoint so it doesn't keep activating, you can just click the red dot. So let's take that breakpoint off. My program is still stuck in break mode, so if I want to keep running, I can just click the continue at the top and just say, okay, carry on running. So I'm just going to carry it on running, and it's hit the other breakpoint that we just set. So the create columns routine is activated. It hasn't executed the line in yellow. That is the next line to be executed. So I'm just going to step through this code until I get down to that if. So I'm going to keep going, F10. And then I get to this if. So this is just generating a random number. And the random numbers are numbers between 0 and 1. So you can use this to like make a 50-50 decision. So I just want to, do I want to move the column spacing up or down for the next column? So I get like a nice pattern that it is followable and solvable in the Flappy Block game. So I can execute this. So F10, and I can see that it's executing this bit of code, and I can continue stepping to make sure that this code doesn't execute. Okay, so if I press F10 again, it should drop down to this line, the clamp line. So let's just do F10 to prove that, and you can see it didn't do the else part. So it might be that you've got a little bit of logic where you've got quite a complicated if structure, which you might have in some instances, and you're just checking what route the code takes. This is really useful, single stepping, to do that. Okay, so to carry on running, I can press continue. This will break every time a column is generated. So if I run this again, it will break point again, and that's the next column, and I can follow that through. That's the basics of it. What you mustn't do is go back to Unity and stop Unity running. Use the little stop button to stop the code. Okay, there are loads of other things that you can do. You can right click on a value. So I won't do it on that value actually. Let's do it on last column center. If I right click over a value, I've got loads of options. One option I can do is to say add watch, and I'll just show you where that is. So I can click add watch. Down at the bottom, by default the watch window will appear, so let me just drag that up so you can see that. And you can see that it's got last column center there, and it tells me what its current value is, which is -1. As that changes, so that will change during this code, so let's just execute this one line at a time and get down to that. So this is the bit that changes last column center. So this line does like a clamp so it doesn't go too off screen. And you'll see it's changed, and values that have changed change colour. By default it goes to red, which is a hideous colour, but that's okay for what we're showing now. There are other little tabs down here. Okay, so you've got immediate window, you've got call stack. Call stack's quite useful. Don't know what it looks like when we're doing Unity stuff. It's not useful at all. Okay, but there are other more complicated things that you can do. You can, if you go up to the debug menu, see other windows. So if you go on the Windows option, we can look at local variables, and that will automatically give you any variables that are in the current subroutine that are local. So these are all the local ones. It tells you all the values of them, okay, at a quick glance. So that's actually quite useful as well, looking at the local variables. It's also a good way of identifying what are local variables if you want to quote anything in documentation. Okay, so to stop this running, just click the stop. To clear the breakpoints, you can just click the stop. There is a way of clearing all the breakpoints. It's in the debug menu. You can get rid of all the ones that you set if you've sprayed them all over your code. Okay.